Alola Pokemon trainers, this is GatorEX, and a while ago I made a video about the cutest Pokemon and one about the ugliest Pokemon, so it only makes sense that I now talk about the top 5 coolest Pokemon in Sun and Moon. Now this will be my personal opinion, so let me know if I missed any cool Pokemon down in the comments below. Anyway, the first Pokemon on the list is Wishiwashi. Now I've talked about Wishiwashi in almost every video I could, but I legitimately love this Pokemon. It was probably the Pokemon that I was most excited to use in Sun and Moon. And now that I've had the game for a few days, I can definitely say that it is one of my new favorite Pokemon. Now, I've been calling this Pokemon the Alola version of Magikarp and Gyarados for the longest time, but it's just true, down to the fact that it's at level 20 that Wishiwashi's schooling ability is able to kick in during battle. But that just adds to the reason that this is such a cool Pokemon. Obviously, its little solo form isn't cool at all. It's somewhat cute, just because it's a little sad fish, but when it actually schools and it's that giant fish made up of a bunch of small fish, that is actually really cool. I never thought that they'd make a Pokemon design like this, but it actually works out once you see it in execution, especially in the games. Also, the stats on this thing are absolutely monstrous, just so much attack and special attack and defenses. Of course, it's a really slow Pokemon, but for the stats and for the look, it's definitely worth it. The next Pokemon on the list is Golisopod, the evolved form of Wimpod. Now this is a really neat Pokemon, and I think it's actually pretty similar to Wishiwashi in the fact that it starts off as a small wimpy Pokemon, but then evolves into a really powerful Pokemon. Going from a small wimpy horseshoe crab to this bipedal crab monster just works out so well. Its stats aren't absolutely amazing, but they're still really good. Also, being owned by one of the coolest characters in Sun and Moon adds to its cool factor. It is a really tough looking Pokemon, and it's gotten a lot going on, but the design is still very sleek. I mean, the armor that this thing has just looks really cool. Some of the coolest armor I've seen on a Pokemon in years. Anyway, the next Pokemon is Lycanroc. Now you're gonna think I'm cheating because it's actually both forms of Lycanroc, Midday and Midnight. Both of these Pokemon just are really cool in their own separate ways. It was pretty neat when we found out that Rockruff would have a split evolution line, and originally I thought that both would be pretty bad, or that maybe one would be better than the other. While stat wise and ability wise, Midday is superior, I think both of these are very cool in their own way. Midday being that it's just a straight wolf evolution. We finally get an actual wolf Pokemon, and it seems like the more natural evolution of Rockruff, but yet the Midnight form also works as an evolution. Of course, it's not as good as Midday, but I really do genuinely like the design, finally having a werewolf Pokemon. So with Rockruff, we get both a wolf and a werewolf finally. But rock type isn't the best type, and I actually wish that these Pokemon would have been normal and dark respectively. I think that could have worked out and might have been much better, but the fact that they're rock type, well, at least we're getting some cool looking rock type Pokemon, and some actually good ones as far as stats go, again with the Midday form. But I do like how both of these are pretty much opposites of each other. You have Midday being this majestic wolf Pokemon, it being very strong, very fast, and then Midnight being this mischievous werewolf Pokemon that like literally taunts you in battle. I think these two are really awesome. Next up is Alolan Marowak. Now I actually think that this is the best Alolan form that builds upon the original as far as design goes, as far as lore goes, as far as typing goes. It's just the complete package. Some of the coolest ghost type Pokemon have been ones that take on a flame aesthetic, and then giving it to Alolan Marowak just works out so well, especially the flames being blue that actually complement its purplish blackish color. An interesting thing, Alolan Marowak is actually thinner than regular Marowak, so I feel like they were trying to incorporate some skeleton influences in it. While its stats are alright, its typing just makes up for that, just being such a good typing, honestly, that fits the Pokemon lore wise, but also can be useful in battle. In all honesty, I didn't think original Marowak was that good, but Alolan Marowak is just so much cooler. And now for the coolest Pokemon in Sun and Moon. Okay, this is another cheat. I picked two, Decidueye and Incineroar. While obviously I prefer Decidueye to Incineroar, I can't ignore that Incineroar is very cool in its own ways. Incineroar did fake us out at first, taking on the appearance of a wrestler and then actually not being a fire fighting type. That's completely new, and I just love it so much better being a fire dark type. Fire dark is a really cool typing, and it's something that we haven't seen since Houndoom. So it's really neat to see it here again, and actually in a starter Pokemon. Its signature move also seems pretty useful. Aesthetically, of course, it being a wrestling move, I don't know, I'm not big into wrestling, which again is why I like Decidueye above Incineroar, but it just works out so well for this Pokemon. And it could possibly also see some competitive use in battles. And I think this does count as a tiger Pokemon, which is really neat because we haven't seen one before, and even though it is bipedal, that doesn't matter just because Incineroar is so cool. And of course I've talked about Decidueye at every chance I've gotten, just like Wishy-Washy. It is a ghost archer owl Pokemon. Decidueye does also get its own signature move, which is really neat because I think we really did need more physical ghost type moves in the game. The thing that I think makes both of these Pokemon the coolest in all of Sun and Moon is the fact that they're the final starter evolutions, that you can go ahead and choose Rowlet or Litten and end up getting one of these at the end of your journey. Now of course Primarina is amazing, and I think all three of these are some of the best starter final evolutions in a long time, but Primarina isn't really cool. It doesn't fit the word cool. It's definitely beautiful and stunning, dazzling, whatever other word you want to use, but I feel like Decidueye and Incineroar work for the top spot in this list. Anyway, that's been it for my top 5 Pokemon in Sun and Moon. Technically, I guess this was a top 7, but there were just so many cool Pokemon in Sun and Moon to choose from. I feel like this list worked out. Anyway, let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Also leave a like to show your support and subscribe if you'd like to stick around for future videos. Also, while you're down there, make sure you enable notifications by clicking that little bell icon. There have been a lot of problems with YouTube recently, just as far as not delivering things to sub boxes, and then on top of everyone uploading Sun and Moon content, stuff is getting buried. So if by chance you want to make sure you see everything that I post on this channel, go ahead and enable notifications. And along with that note, I did post a vlog of me going to the midnight release for Pokemon Sun and Moon, so if you'd like to watch that, go ahead and give it a watch. Again, it was posted on Friday when everybody was posting Sun and Moon Let's Plays and everything else, so if you didn't see that video, make sure you go ahead and give it a watch because it was pretty fun. Anyway, this has been GatorEX. Hope you're enjoying Sun and Moon.